And what's going through my mind at that time was quit running, motherfucker.
You were almost off in those fights.
Growing up, I always liked Mike Tyson. I'm trying to hurt this guy, plain and simple.
UFC 37, you said? We're at 314, dude.
I was starting high school and you were throwing hands with grown men.
Kind of look back at my career, not one single submission attempt.
You're standing there, split lip in half, bleeding everywhere.
I looked at him and I spit that blood on the ground, thinking like, let's go.
Both me and Kamaru, we're kind of at the tail end of our career.
Speak for yourself.
You ain't fighting 10 more times. Recently just gave the urine sample to the testing pool.
All that was is like,
what do you think of the champ? La Muhammad.
it's simple things, but he's just doing it at a high level.
The Ruthless one, Mr. Robbie Lawler.
A Shot of Line production.
Thanks for having me.
Robbie, like I told Henry earlier, you're a man of few words. You know, I've been around you now for, what is it? Like, I want to say over 5 years, like 6, 7. No, more than that, 7-ish, 8 years. Yep. I think we've probably said less than 1,000 words to each other.
For sure.
Isn't that crazy?
It must be you, bro. I was just having the time of my life with Robbie. We were talking shit.
Maybe. Is it me, Robbie? Is it me? But Robbie, man, it's truly a pleasure to actually get to sit down and talk to you. I know kind of when we started, when that relationship kind of, we were around each other more and more, I understand it now because I feel like I'm in that position with some guys to where you're so close, you're still very active, you're still at the top of the division, and I'm the young, hungry guy trying to claw my way up there. And so, of course, you have to have that edge about you because everyone's coming for your spot. And for me, I'm thrilled. I'm just like, wow, that Robbie Lawler's in the gym. It's another guy that I get to learn from. But at the same time, I'm trying to be where Robbie Lawler's at. But for me, once the moment you came in the gym, and me and Henry have that close relationship to where it was just, I need to learn as much as I can from that champion because I want to be where he's at. Did you feel any of that? And is that why we haven't spoken more than 1,000 words to each other?
I'm not very talkative anyways, like unless somebody asks me questions, but you kind of were doing your own thing, working with the guys you worked on, kind of peeping out things you wanted to work with. You knew what you were looking for and the training partners you wanted. You were dialed in, so there's not really anything to talk about, I'm guessing, right? I mean, you were dialed in. You had
right.
Doing all the right things. So it's like, keep doing what you're doing.
I feel like the name suits you well, Robbie. Ruthless. Yeah. When I think about your career, man, I go back to, bro, like you're one of the straight up like real OGs. You know what I mean? Like you go back to
a lot of guys say they OGs. Bro.
Yeah, he was young at the time. I remember watching you scrap. I think it was, I don't know if it was in the Taj Mahal, if I'm or somewhere on the East Coast. But I remember you had five. You fought somewhere in the East Coast, but somewhere. But I remember you got
could have been Mohegan Sun. Could have maybe Mohegan Sun.
Yeah,
maybe.
But what was the first? What number of UFC was that you?
37. And that was in Bossier City, Louisiana.
Okay, so that's what it was. Yeah,
2002 May.
Yes, May 2002. Robbie, I was starting high school. And you were throwing hands with grown men.
Freshman.
Yeah.
Robbie, it's kind of crazy. We're connected in a certain sense even before we actually became teammates as training in the same gym. You were the champion while I was on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember, there was an episode where they brought you in to speak with the guys, the contestants, all on that season, the American Top Team versus Black Zillion. And I'm on the show, and you were the champion. And I'm getting a chance now to be up close kind of to you. But even before that, I would go down to Texas and do training camps with Johnny Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of Johnny Hendricks' training partners for George St. Pierre. I was also one of Johnny Hendricks' training partners for you. Mainly, he trained with the Southpaw, but I was at least down there to just give him that look. And so I got a chance to kind of really see once you came back, because we were all following, because they called it the true resurgence. Because once you got back into the UFC, it was just truly the Ruthless one when you came in. It was almost like there was this new era about you, to where I didn't care about anything. The only chance they have is to try to take me down. And once I got up, I'm brawling straight up. And so seeing that resurgence of you getting back in, now when you look back on your career, a lot of people, especially now, there's different places to go. There's PFL, there's, formerly Bellator. Obviously, for you, that was the right decision to get back into the UFC.
Yeah, well, I think they bought Strikeforce, so I was coming back. What was nice about it, I was staying pretty busy outside, but I was always watching the guys in the UFC. I'm like, okay, I can beat that guy. I was fighting at 185, but I was watching all the welterweights and just kind of like keeping track, keeping tabs, like, okay, this is the guy. And once I never really had a goal when I started fighting. It was just like, I want to beat people up and make money, and this is what I like. I like to train and fight. But when I came back to the UFC, I wanted to showcase who I was, and then I had a goal of winning a title. I don't think I ever really had a goal. I just wanted to go beat up people. But when I came back to the UFC, I had a goal of jumping through all the hoops, doing all the media crap, and winning a title. So I was focused on a goal. I had a reason to train hard and be focused, but I also had a good coach and good training partners to show me the things I was lacking and tighten up my game.
I don't know if you know this, but Rob, he actually comes from a wrestling background. I started wrestling at seventh grade. I think what I found unique about your career, Robbie, was the fact that you started fighting super young. You do come from a wrestling background. You never used it, but your career also kind of like you took a dip, and then all of a sudden, like I remember the fight. I remember that fight with Pete Spratt. Mm-hmm. I remember he leg kicked the shit out of you.
Pete Spratt.
Yeah, Pete Spratt. Dude.
Melvin Manoff.
That was one of.
Talk about that one too.
Yeah, no. I because I think it's beautiful because it's part of your story.
Yeah.
From being leg kicked to and the second, and then I was like, all right, man, Robbie's like, there's something different with him now. And then I see you knock out Josh Koscheck. I'm like, all right, man, like this dude is determined to do something. And then obviously you become the welterweight champion of the world. What was it that really made you say, hey, enough is enough? I'm finally gonna go after what I believe in, not just beat people up, become a world champion.
Yeah, it was just the reason why I was there. I wanted to be a title holder. I wanted to win. I wanted to showcase who I was. Sometimes you'd show up and you're like, man, freaking I lost. Why can't I do what everyone knows I can do in the room? It was like being able to showcase who I was, but it was little details that I was missing, like how to freaking defend a takedown smartly at a high level. Like I was trying to be an athlete, dive out, jump, somersault, instead of just getting heavy in certain spots and maneuver, just craft. I was missing the finer details of wrestling that I could actually rest instead of just trying to be athletic and be crazy to get out of a takedown. I was doing all the work, and the guy was like, okay, I'm just going to shoot back in on your legs. And I was somersaulting, cartwheeling, and
so you're probably expanding more energy.
Oh, so much energy. So much energy.
And that's crazy, dude, because you're from wrestling country, bro.
Yeah, and that's how I wrestled. It was like I could do a lot of the big things, but it was the finer details that I was missing. Hey, why are you doing that? And my coach was like, hey, what are you doing there? And he's like, he grabbed a single, and he's like, do what you're doing. He's like, hey, feel this. And then he freaking got heavy, and I'm like, oh, seriously? It's like one of those things when someone shows you, you're like, man, why didn't somebody show me that like freaking 10 years ago? That was easy. I don't even have to practice that. It was just like the feel of it was.
Now, Robbie, you born in California.
Yep.
And then you moved to Iowa?
Yep.
At what age?
I moved there in 4th grade. I think I was 10-ish. Yeah.
And then what was your main sport when you got to Iowa?
When I went to Iowa, I did martial arts growing up. So I started Taekwondo when I was like 7 or 8, did that at a pretty high level. Then I moved to Iowa, and I always had a heavy bag in my basement. So I was hitting the heavy bag, watching boxing. So my dad would always be working late. So I'd be up late watching Tuesday night fights, USA, boxing. Then I'd go hit the bag, work out, and always training for fighting. And then football player, baseball player, and then I was at school. I think it was in 5th grade. They're like, hey, who wants to wrestle? I was like, I want to wrestle, but none of the other kids wanted to wrestle. So it was like we didn't do it. But then when I was in 7th grade, their middle school started wrestling, and I'm like, okay, I have to learn this. Just wrestled as much as I could, and my whole thing that I'd always say was, wait until I figure out what these guys are doing. Because, like people like get tricks. I'm like, man, they know what the hell they're doing. And it's just like, it's the grind of trying to get better. So wrestling.
How'd you do it? Did you wrestle in high school?
Yeah, I wrestled in high school all 4 years. Yeah.
Did you go to state?
I went to state 3 times, placed twice,
right, okay.
4th twice. So
that's not easy to do. I mean, it's Iowa, and that's back in the day.
Yeah, fourth is still fourth, so it's like it's just like
that's the true Robbie Lawler
come on,
there.
It was okay for people who think that's. I think it's okay, but like really, it's fourth.
But Robbie, so this there is this thing that you have, and especially more in your earlier fights when you were younger, to where there's this mean streak that you have when you fight. And we know what that is. When you bite that bottom lip and you gonna get him, it's just like you just hit me and I'm coming to get you, and you are almost pissed off in those fights. And meeting you, anyone talking to you, that's 2 different worlds apart, that person right there. I mean, where did that come from? Where did you develop that? When you're in there, once you get touched, you turn into that guy.
It's kind of like, to me, it's sports. I had an older brother who roughed me up, but like it was like if I'm playing football, I'm like the guy who's trying to freaking smash you. If I'm wrestling, I'm like try to pick you up, slam you, run up the score, just be like ferocious. Yeah, is kind of how I tried to do everything. And like growing up, I always liked Mike Tyson, so it was just like when I hit the bag growing up, I was hitting the bag a certain way. I wasn't just like touching it. I was
throwing the hips in.
I was trying to freaking crush the freaking bag, because when I'm lifting weights, why am I lifting weights? So it's just my mindset of I'm trying to hurt this guy, plain and simple. Like, and that's, I don't really talk about it because growing up, like when I first started fighting, we were trying to promote the sport. Like, I didn't want people to know that I'm going over there to try to freaking crush this guy. They didn't want to hear this. Hey, we're trying to build this sport, get fans. Now it's fine, but
speaking of mindset,
the
famous quote and the famous sit down where you were asked, if the guy goes down. I think it was a famous interview with Ron Kirk when he asked you that, and you said, well, if he's down, I'm not taking his neck. I'm taking his soul.
Jesus.
I was not in a good mood at the time, but like that's kind of
but
like
that was real.
At that time when I was fighting, that's what I was doing. I was trying to like make people not want to fight, because it's like people laugh, and I like kind of look back on my career now that I'm retired, like not one single submission attempt in the UFC. Not one single submission attempt in the UFC. Like, my mindset now, I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's silly. But, like, I always thought you get submitted, like, oh, you tricked me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you get your ass beat, there's no trick into that.
You know that. It sticks
There's
with
no
them
trick
forever.
into that. Like, sometimes you could get whooped in a wrestling meet,
Right.
a wrestling match, but it's just slick stuff, or somebody just beats the shit out of you. It's two different ways and mentalities of, but that's kind of my mindset. So,
yeah, obviously because not only did you are you getting inducted into Hall of Fame, which is in a couple months, but also you've already been inducted in the Hall of Fame with the fight that you had with Rory MacDonald. I mean, and we're talking about it earlier. I feel like that fight took something from Rory. You know when you go with somebody, you feel like they just don't come. They're just not the same. It's almost like I felt like in that fight between you and him, like you guys gave everything that you guys had, and I think that took a little bit of Rory, even though he gave everything that he had. I don't feel like he came back the same. Like ever since then, it's almost like will Rory ever be the same? What do you think it was about that fight that pretty much changed both of your guys' lives, dude? Like a lot of people consider this the most vicious fight in UFC history.
It's like one of those things. I can't speak for him, but you give it your all, your training camp, the time you put in, the tactics that obviously those guys up at TriStar put in time and effort into little tricks and details to get the job done. And at some point in time, you take those things away and it's a fight. And that's what it came down to at the end. And his body was done. He probably drank a whole bunch of blood because his nose was bleeding. So it was just definitely a vicious fight, and he put in that much time and to not get the victory, it can take a toll on you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Henry, because I wanted to spend a little bit of time on that fight because that's the type of fight that defines who I personally see you as. That fight right there, I feel like, to me, defines who you are as a competitor, who you are as a fighter, who you evolved into as a fighter. Like you just mentioned, you were always that type of guy where it's like, wait till I figure this out. And I feel like just dissecting that fight, because I watched that fight quite a bit. I think you put your boxing, I think you did for me personally, some of your best boxing in that fight. Your jab was on point, and towards the end there, you broke him with that jab. But being in that fight, and this is a question because I'm starting to feel a little bit of this. There are times where you're just in a fight where you wake up and you just want to fight that day. And you're in there, obviously you need that dance partner that's willing to push you to that edge where it's the edge of no return. We all know each fight takes something out of us each and every time we step in there. But in that fight, it was the edge of no return. You guys are going back and forth. He's landed a couple of head kicks. You're breaking him down with your hands. And the moment comes, I think it's end of round. What is it, round 2? Round 3?
Round 4.
Round 4. You're standing there, split lip in half, bleeding everywhere. His face looks like a zombie. And the bell rings, and it's just mano a mano. You're standing there looking at him. He's looking at you. Robbie, what's going through your mind at that moment?
It's funny because I've watched the fight,
right?
And what's going through my mind at that time was, quit running, motherfucker. But he wasn't running. He was being tactical. But like that's kind of like I looked at him and I freaking spit that blood on the ground thinking like, let's go. And that's kind of what that stare down was, like, let's freaking go. And I think right then might have been it for him.
Yeah, there's just moments like that where It's almost like you're
No, I
when you're in a
know
fight.
what you're saying. You're almost, it was kind of like more of like a primal kind of like
Exactly.
kill or be killed type shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like fuck.
Yes.
And rarely do we really get. I mean, obviously people get beat up in mixed martial arts, but if you go back and think of like legendary boxing matches, Jose Luis Castillo versus what's his name, Chico. You know what I'm talking about, dude.
Yeah, they fought a few times.
Yeah, they fought a few times. Like, dude, you look at those freaking fights, you're like, what the fuck? Like, you cannot count. Obviously, people have fought. Like, I think of your fight. I think of Calvin and Israel Adesanya. I even think of Kamaru and Kobe. I don't know if it was the first or second time. Like, dude, they threw down, man. They hurt each other.
Yep.
You know, these are the moments that inspire this next generation to come. But you've been there with Hendricks. You've been there with Nick Diaz on a couple occasions. You've been there with Rory MacDonald. You've been there with Carlos Condit. You've been there with pretty much the best welterweights in the world. Like, what are some of the things that really come out with some of these fighters? How with some of these memories with a guy like maybe, let's say, Johnny Hendricks, who had a different style, with a guy like maybe a Nick Diaz?
So with like Johnny, he was super strong, like really strong, especially when he got to his spots, like his freaking underhook. He was strong there. So like, I'm a strong guy, like lifting wise. So it was like, and body, but it was like, okay, when he gets this underhook, how do you get heavy? How do you freaking get your hip away so he can't bully you in those positions? So it was a lot of these fights, why it went so well is because we worked on things that this guy was good at and we took him away. So I was in shape in those positions. I was technical in those positions. Those were no longer his positions. They were our positions, and I could battle in there and not get tired. So that's really what a lot of these good fights came down to, nullifying that. Now what do you have? What's your plan B when that doesn't work? And that's kind of like where I've always tried to put the fight. Okay, you were trying to do this, but now we're doing this. So now what?
Yeah. No, Rob, you've had, I mean, legendary moments. But a lot of the younger guys, I think, have a hard time understanding kind of the ups and downs of what we do. Yes, of course, it's already extremely primal, but you know, you see all these young guys, they get in here now and they're 10-0, 12-0, and they're just running through guys. And they have a lot of hype and a ton of heat on them. But then they take that loss and they have no idea how to come back from that. You know, you were a guy that, even though you took a loss, you came back, you were still ruthless. You were still going hard. You know, what advice or how would you give that to these young guys now? Or what difference do you see between the crops of guys now than, I mean, you've done it for over 2 decades.
So
how did you handle your losses, man?
So I always handle. Let's just go back to why this. I think the issue is I competed in Taekwondo at a pretty high level. So I've lost before and had to go back and train. I've wrestled in tournaments where you're just weighing in, walking, you don't know who you wrestle, and you lose, and then you have to go back and work. Some of these guys aren't competing as much as you guys did growing up, so they don't know the ups and downs of these tournaments week in and week out, grinding.
It's like, it's almost like prior to getting humbled in the big stage, you've already been humbled
many times.
Like you've already tasted that.
Pick yourself
you already
up.
tested that pie. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
okay.
Fuck, all right.
Okay,
I've done it.
And the big thing too now that I see is especially because the sport is so mainstream right now. You know, I always say, and I've said this to Dana and Hunter too. I say, our notoriety doesn't match our paycheck. Does not match our wallets at all. And so with the sport being so mainstream right now and so big, it makes it it's like an added pressure when you're competing, especially when you're the headliner in these cards and you're competing, it's for a belt and things like that. And so whether you like it or not, it's not just another wrestling tournament that, hey, I got to wrestle back for. You know, it's an event and everything is built around you. And you go in and you're dominated and you made this resurgence and now you're that guy. And then all of a sudden in Atlanta, after a couple years, you fight Tyron Woodley and you lose the title. How is it dealing with that and coming back from that?
It was kind of like, it's humbling, but it's like, okay, now what? What do I want to do with my life? Who do I want to fight? I actually didn't want to fight. And actually what I did at that point in time is I spent time with my family, because if you think about when I first started fighting in 2000, back with the UFC 2013 to whenever that was, 2016 or 17, whenever, it was nonstop grinding. Like, so really what I did was hung out with my family. I trained. I'm always going to train. I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to hit the bag, just work out, always be in decent shape just in case somebody runs up on me. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. But yeah, I just hung out with my family and started building other things outside of fighting, because for so long, that's all I did. Freaking selfish training.
Right.
Freaking wake up when I want to, eat when I want to. Yeah, I have this food. I don't know what you guys are eating, but I have my set thing. So just trying to be a family man and growing up, really, because I never really had to grow up, because, running through that grind, it was like we got to keep this ball rolling. So that's kind of where I went.
How was that emotionally for you, and how do you think that was for your family? Because it's like, for competitors, we're in it.
Yeah.
So we go try to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you start noticing people act different around. People move different in certain ways. People, like, you're the champion. Once you're the champion, you're that guy. Everyone treats you a certain way. Everyone moves different. But now that you're no longer the champion, how was that around? How was that community around you?
I keep my circle pretty small anyway. So what I've always tried to do with my career is no highs, no lows.
Right.
I don't try to. When you win, you win. When you lose, you lose. But I'm not riding people's congratulations. Oh man, you're the best, because you're going to get that and you're not going to get it. So I tried to stay here no matter what. And I'm happy with what I've done in fighting, but even the losses, I'm learning, always evolving. And that's kind of like what I've always done. Like, if I lost, okay, how do I turn this into a win? What am I going to learn from this situation? How can I take this shit result and make it a win and develop and become better at whatever I need to be better at, and what am I going to learn? So that's kind of, it's weird, but that's how I've always gotten better at things. It might be fighting, it might be something else, but it's, what am I supposed to learn from this thing? What am I supposed to learn from this crap scenario, and how am I going to be better for it?
Yeah. Do you think that competitor will always be in you? Do you think that the other thing is did you have a love-hate relationship with the game? Because I know at one point, I could tell you for me, because when we competed so damn long and so much, you're like, dude, I'm like, man, when's that next chapter? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I just close it and be okay with that?
Yeah, no, it was scary, I would say. Like, oh shit, like I've been doing this for 23 years, basically, when I was like, what the heck's on the other side of this? But I did some things around me, have the right people around me, and put some things in place where I'm going to be fine. But it's still jumping into
scary,
a different arena of life when it's like pretty much starting from zero is how I look at it, and then just freaking back to the grind. But if you build anything like what you've done with your guys' careers, I think you guys can build whatever you want if you guys put your minds to it. And that's kind of how I take this thing, but it was still scary.
Yeah. So Robbie, so you recently just I don't know if you're teasing. I don't know if you like to tease people, but you recently just gave the urine sample to the testing pool. So what's going on with that? Is that just to throw people off?
Me, right?
No, that was so. All
that?
that was is like they tested me at a time where there was a whole bunch of people at the gym. So then
you're like,
it went out there, like, and somebody's like, "Oh, it looks like Robbie got tested." I'm like, "Yeah, but I got tested months ago too, months before that." So it's just.
So you're still in the testing pool?
Yeah, I'm still there getting tested.
Guess who's back? Yeah. Back again.
Yeah, but I'm retired. I'm freaking. But
yeah, are you satisfied with because obviously now you're coaching Michael Chandler this weekend. You travel quite a bit. I mean, you're a team player, man.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that role now that you're able to say, just because me and Kamaru, we're kind of at the tail end of our career, dude, and we both talked about it.
Speak for yourself. What do you mean?
You ain't fighting 10 more times. You ain't fighting 10 more times.
All right.
I got one more, dude.
Right.
Like I can already see. Like I've been able to kind of hash out my business and everything that I'm trying to kind of just foresee the next 10 to 15 years. How is it that my kids are going to be okay?
Mm-hmm.
But for you, are you satisfied? Do you like the coaching aspect of putting? You know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause I know sometimes when a friend fights, man, you're like, why am I more nervous than if I was fighting? Like, it's a trip. That's fucking stress, man. You like that?
Yeah, I don't get stressed. So like I'm doing it from like a totally different spot. Like I feel like I'm like watching from over here, so I'm like almost
we
like
watch you
video
coaching.
game-ish. But sometimes I'm excited if there's good energy. But like I enjoy it. It's everyone's different. Everyone's not me. So I had to everyone has different things they need to work on, and different ways to touch that individual and get him better than this guy. So it's just it's like just figuring these guys out. Everyone's so different, and it's just interesting to me. And there's so many techniques out there that I need to learn. I want to go out there and continue to evolve as a coach.
Yeah, we watch you, and it's this tone. It's the Robbie Lawler tone the whole time, but you're really settling into it. And like I said, when you came down, and we've met, and we were just like in between gyms, we're doing the transition. But now, you're a staple down here in South Florida at Kill Cliff. Now, talk a little bit about the gym and what you're trying to build, what you guys are trying to build there in the culture.
Really, we're just got to start from scratch. I mean, different guys come in with different bases, so it's how can we implement a training system for individuals. It's hard to put a training camp together that's gonna be good for you, and good for that guy. So it's here's what it looks like. All right, how can we tailor it to this guy this week? Okay, we need to, and when you have 60, 70 people in there, it's definitely hard. So it's a lot of work. So I'm still figuring it out, and good thing we have good coaches around us to help me out, because I'm not the only one. But it's submissions, wrestling, kickboxing, boxing. You guys know everyone needs different things everyone's not the same, so it's hard to cater and when you have a gym like ours. So it's just fine-tuning my coaching, really, and that's why I can't corner everyone. It's
If I could have my 2 cents, I think everybody at Kill Cliff, the one that I'm just like, dude, I would have loved to have been coached by is Craig Jones. Is it Greg or Craig? Greg Jones.
You're a wrestler.
Yep. Three time, dude. I keep thinking of the jiu-jitsu guy. Dude, he doing some crazy shit, kissing people. But 3-time NCAA champ. I remember watching him. Russ, I'm just like, dude, this dude is one of the slickest dude. I've always thought that if that dude would have got into fighting, the whole everybody at 185 or 70, whatever weight he wanted to pick, they'd be in trouble. Anybody, just so super gifted. But right now, at 170 pounds, the landscape, you have Bilal Muhammad, you have, he's going to take on JDM. You have Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's waiting kind of in the limbo. How do you see the whole landscape at 170 pounds? And what do you think of the champ? What do you think right now, Bilal Muhammad and his dominance?
I mean, obviously it's Bilal's. Where it starts with him, I think, is he's fine everywhere but his wrestling. I mean, he's gets in on guys' hips, easy lifts, outworks guys, and that's kind of what he's doing. It's simple things, but he's just doing it at a freaking high level, and guys aren't ready for it. Haven't trained against. I mean, you're probably ready for that kind of wrestling, but not everyone has wrestled their whole lives and has seen that type of stuff before. So it's a lot of good guys, a lot of different body types, tall guys. Bilal's shorter, but it's a lot of exciting fights for the UFC to put together at welterweight for sure.
Have you spent a lot of time with Rakhmonov?
A little bit. I don't push myself on anybody, but if I see something from the side, I'm like, hey, maybe get a little heavy here. Just little tidbits, because once you're at like a high level, you're not drastically changing anyone. You're just kind of going, hey, in this spot, maybe you should try this. So, but yeah, he's good. He's got his things that he likes to go to, and I'm there if he needs me.
Rob, from the outside, watching you all those years, like I just mentioned, training with Johnny Hendricks, and at no point, I'm not even in the UFC at that point in time yet, and thinking, oh yeah, this guy is going to fight for the title, he's going to be the champion, and I'm eventually going to be the champion of that division one day, and we're going to be in the same gym, we're going to train. Never even thought of something like that. But for you as an individual, I got a pleasure of sitting there. I didn't know if you knew that was going to happen. And all of a sudden, when you're in the arena for the UFC fights, boom, the sound comes on there. They're playing a video, or next fight's about to start, and they start playing the video. And you're being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And they're running off that video of you and your career, which I had to record because I'm the type of guy where I take something from everybody. I love to study, and I love to really try to put myself in a position because I hope to be there one day. And that video is going off, and you're taking it all in. At the end of that video, obviously you feel however you're feeling. But the one thing that I want to ask is, did you enjoy this season of your life?
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed everything. But what I will say is I never allowed myself until like right there at the end when all those kind words all coming at one time on there with the I've seen the highlights before. I'm like, I've seen highlights. I'm like, oh, because if you think about it, I never allowed myself to have highs or lows. People like, hey, congratulations, you're awesome. Okay, yeah. But to have it like, oh shit, and then the flash of my career all in like a 3-minute span is a lot to handle. So it was definitely got me.
Yeah, I actually made the video, dude. Did you make the video?
What?
About when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame?
Oh, no,
I made a little cut, dude.
I wasn't special enough, but I was there. I got to watch it with him.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw you came and shook his hand.
You think it's just gonna be like, oh man, like, and then it happens. All those people saying nice stuff. You're like, oh man, this is freaking getting me choked up. So, and that's not who I am. I thought.
Yeah, and that's Robbie. I want to say
cutie Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, right.
I want to say that. As weird as it sounds, that was very refreshing to see that. Because like I said earlier, it's we've been around each other for over 7 years and haven't spent that much time together to where I've never seen that much emotion come out of you. And at one point, I think I was that way. When someone would say, "Oh yeah," in my head it was just like I would shoot it down. I wouldn't say anything. Thank you.
On to the next.
Yeah, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. When I won my NCAA title, I sat at the bar and I was just thinking at the hotel where we were staying at, and I was just thinking, man, I gotta make weight for the U.S. Open. What's next? What's next? I was already thinking about something else, and so it was refreshing getting to see you actually take that all in.
The appreciation. I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah,
a lot.
and it mentally kind of, I'm like, man, that's where I want to be one day. And I my wheels are turning. How would I feel if this is happening to me? How would I feel in that moment? So it was extremely refreshing getting to see that from you, because, you're that kind of guy. You don't smile much.
Yeah.
You don't say much. You don't do much. But I enjoyed seeing that moment because, you let us know that you're human, even though you're ruthless. Every time you step in there. But for you and your family, what went into the decision and of you saying, you know what, I'm done? And how long did that take to settle in on? Because I know it's tough for some guys to just leave the party.
Yeah, it was all on me. No one can tell me what to do. It's just how I am. But it was just like no one can tell me. It's just like I have to freaking decide. Don't nudge me in any direction because I'm gonna fight it.
Yeah.
But it was hard to coach, recover from training, just a lot of work. And it was like, do I want to keep doing this? It was the recovery. It's hard to recover. Can I still do it? Yeah, I could still do it. But do I want to be selfish? Really? Because that's what it is. It's selfish. And it'll be even more selfish because I have to think a lot harder than when I was 20, when I could recover boom. I have to set up my training camp a little differently. It's a process, and and when you don't really want to put all that work into doing it at a certain level, then it's.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like you made that transition, Robbie, where a lot of fighters just didn't. It's almost, I think what makes your story unique is the fact that you took the dips, and then all of a sudden you started climbing Mount Everest and you got to the top. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what makes your story very, very different. I mean, UFC 37, you said?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. We're at 314, dude.
Yeah.
Talk about somebody who has put miles. But I just want to say, man, I started watching you fight when I first kind of fell in love with the sport and knew that I wanted to do it. I think I was probably in junior high, maybe my 8th grade year, when I started kind of really honing in on the UFC and literally making sure that I watched every time they had an event, from the Shamrock versus Tito Ortiz to going back and watching all the old school guys and Dan Severn versus Hoist Gracie. I became a historian to really, just because I respected the game and I wanted to know my facts. And I just want to say, man, congratulations, man. Congratulations on a beautiful career and for being an example for those who have fallen. And how is it that you can get back on top and become the best in the world?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, same here, Rob. Like I said, less than 1,000 words. We've said this is the most we've ever talked.
2,200 out here. That's a record.
But watching from afar, Rob, I just want to say congratulations with everything that you've done. I mean, and still doing. With the gym, with Kill Cliff, and your guys. Watching your career was spectacular, because just like he mentioned, you did show us that, I could fall down, but I can get back up and I can get back on the horse. And you did that in the most ruthless way. No pun intended there. It fit perfectly. And being able to sit there and watch you take that in, being Hall of Fame and knowing the type of guy that you are so far. It's I want to say, man, congratulations. All the love, even though when we started being in the same gym, you know, I was still competing and you're competing. So it's you know, you have that wall up as a fighter. You have that chip up. But, you know, I'm a fan of yours, always been a fan. I admire everything that you've done. And hopefully I'm there one day, you know, in that Hall of Fame, just like you. So I want to say thank you so much for being able to come here and share some time with us. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. Like you mentioned, now we're at 2,300 words. You know, we're getting there.
It's a record, dude.
Getting there. Robbie, want to say thank you so much for joining us.
And nice kicks, bro. I keep staring at those.
Yeah,
Those are
thanks for
Robbie,
having
he got
me.
style
Nice,
too.
bro. Those
Robbie
are
fresh.
nice, man.
You know, Robbie's subtle with the freshness.
Yeah.
But
Jordans, huh?
thank you so much, Robbie. Appreciate it. As always, I'm the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman.
Henry Cejudo, a.k.a. Triple C.
And we are out.